Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. Last week, we talked about the soul and the nature of the soul. And following on from that, we wanted to talk about the concepts of karma and reincarnation. So very interesting topics. So we describe the nature of the soul, how Krishna explains dahinosmin kadehe, how the body, how the soul lives in this body through childhood, boyhood, or girlhood, and then youth, and then young man, young woman, and then slowly going on to old age. So the body keeps changing, but the soul remains one, the same. So that concept we discussed last week, how Krishna spent, I think it was 19 verses describing the nature of the soul, which is very powerful. I think it was from text 211 until 230. So worth reading those again and again, just to understand who we actually are. And this, we will never die. The soul lives eternally. Now, whilst in the material world, in the spiritual world, the soul will have its particular form, whatever relationship the soul has with the Supreme Lord. And it can be anything. It can be in the form of a friend or a parent or lover, or it can be form of grass or tree or peacocks or gomata, whatever the eternal nature of one's relationship with the Lord, you will have that body, but it wouldn't be material, it'll be a spiritual body. That spiritual body, when it transfers into the material world, it really becomes very tiny. 1/10,000th of a tip of the hair is the calculation given in one of the Upanishads. So what does it do in this world, right? It gets a body. And generally there are two types of bodies. Now, the first type is the gross body, right? Everybody has a gross body, and it's made of the 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. So this constitutes the gross body of every living entity. But there's another body, a subtle body, and that constitutes 3 things: mind, intelligence, and false ego. So we need to understand that whilst the gross body is made of material things, and these are gross things, things which you can perhaps see, feel, although ether is very subtle. It's like this reference to the sky. But the subtle body is invisible. But that body also is with us, but it's material: the mind, intelligence, and false ego. So all of these items are material. And in the spiritual world, we wouldn't have any of these. So to understand that the gross body will die, will finish, it's already dead. It's only made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. When the soul leaves the body, the subtle body carries that soul into its next body. So the mind, intelligence, and ego stays with us until we are in this material world, but it gets reset. So when we have when we put into another body, the mind, intelligence, and ego, false ego, becomes reset according to the body we get.
But we impressions that we form in this life are stored in the mind. So those impressions are taken into your next body. So that's why, you sometimes you think it's deja vu. You've seen it before, that is the reason why, because the impression is from your previous life or previous body.
And those impressions are also called samskars. So that's why we have, and one of the topics that we have on our list is the different samskars from birth or before birth until death. Why these are important to perform, because they create impressions on the mind which helps the soul in the future births. So in summary, we are spiritual beings separate from the gross and subtle bodies. Now, a lot of people have the impression that we are the mind. So yes, we're not the gross body, but we're the mind, or we're intelligence, or we're false ego. But actually the scriptures describe that we are beyond the gross and the subtle bodies. The spirit soul is beyond both.
So basically we have three bodies: spiritual body, subtle body, and the gross body.
And these are the references in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So what happens at the time of death? As I said, the subtle body will take the soul into the next body. But Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita what happens. And this is chapter 8, text number 6. Very interesting verse.
Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kale varam tam tam evati konteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. Translation is, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail.
So this is a pretty definite statement by Krishna. What will happen to the person after he dies or leaves the body? Whatever he was remembering when he quits his body, that's what he will attain. It's a little bit like death is like an examination. Whatever we've done in our life, whatever we studied for our exams, that will come out while we're doing the exam. So it said that if in our life we have constantly remembered the Lord, constantly done bhakti, constantly helped others, then that is what is going to come into our mind at the end. It said that our whole life flashes right in front of us at the time of death. So if we've been doing pious, good spiritual activities, then that's ultimately what we will remember when we quit the body. Now, Mahatma Gandhi, for example, when he passed away, he chanted the name of Ram. Extraordinary. Not extraordinary, because all his life he was a devotee of the Lord. So that's what he remembered at the end of his life. So this is a really interesting point to remember. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits this body, that state will be attained without fail. Now, karma is very important. Karma is the concept of action and reaction. We do something and we get a reaction. And it's very simple to understand, because if we were standing on the 10th floor of a building and we jumped off it, that karma, that action will have a reaction. We'll have a broken leg or quite a few broken bones in our body. So that's effectively karma. But what karma also does, it transgresses lives. It goes beyond one life, can go beyond one life. There are three types of karma. Karma, where you perform your prescribed duties. So whatever situation one is in, one is a householder, one has a family, one has children, dependents, responsibilities. Those generally will be sinless. Those acts which are done, they're prescribed duties according to one's body, male body, female body. They have different duties. One isn't higher than the other, by the way. Vikarma are acts which are forbidden. They're sinful acts. Generally, the 4 regulatory principles are broken. So those are no meat eating, fish, eggs, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. So acts which are forbidden in the scriptures, karma, you get a bad reaction. For your prescribed duties, you get you would be doing your duty, so it'd be pious activities. Vikarma is impious activities, so you get a bad reaction. And there's a third category, which is a really important category: spiritual activities, akarma. Karma means doing some act. When it's got an A before it, it becomes no reaction to the action. Akarma. It negates the karma. Now, the example of this, for example, is if we all eating, right? Nobody's fasting forever. We all eat. So if our diet includes the slaughter of animals, that's going to be vikarma. If our diet is sattvic, that's the right word. That is pious. Sattvic means fresh, and organic, without causing harm to living entities. Of course, plants are living as well, but that's our natural food. And also, we don't kill unnecessarily, vegetation, only when we need. So those two are easy to understand. Now, how can we make that act of eating our karma? That's possible. And it's really easy. We can make it our karma by offering whatever food we cook to God, to the Supreme Lord. That food becomes known as prasad, sanctified food. And that food, when we partake, when we eat that food, when we honor that food, we're not, it is not an act which will bind us to this world, because we are actually eating prasad, sanctified food. It will carry us towards the spiritual realm. Because even if you are, there's one sloka in the Bhagavad Gita, 337, I think. If you just bring it. Even if you have a vegetarian diet, you're still committing some sin, because the vegetables are living, right? Oh no, that's the wrong one. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, I can't remember which it is now, which basically says, unless you offer the food that to God, you're only eating sin. Yeah, verily just eating sin. So the idea is to make that food sinless, but not just sinless, making that food spiritual, we offer it to God. So everything we cook and offer it to God, and then we eat that prasad. Even if you have to take something from outside, packet of crisps because you're hungry, you can open the packet of crisps and you offer it to the Lord in your mind. My dear Lord, this is not the best way to offer to you, but please accept this offering, my dear Lord. And then you can eat that food. That becomes prasad. So we can do that with every single one of our acts, not just with food, but everything we do, we can offer it to the Lord. And that makes those activities, that karma becomes our karma. So we don't have a reaction which will bind us to this world. However, karma is extremely difficult to understand. Krishna says this himself in the Bhagavad Gita.
Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam kahana karmano gati. Translation: the intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is.
So Krishna himself is saying, to understand karma, It's very, very difficult, right? We often come to a situation where, why did this happen to me? I've always been good in my life. Why did it happen to me? So we'll see that question asked by somebody to Krishna and what his answers were in a little while. So this soul is stuck in this samsara, and we looked at this last time. Body after body, life after life, we go into different bodies according to our consciousness. Our material consciousness will keep us in samsara. If we have a material, if we're attached to this material world, we will stay in this material world. Now, how many forms of life are there? Right? We can take birth in any of these forms of life, any species. There's 8.4 million. There's 900,000 species living in the water. There are 2 million non-moving living entities, such as trees and plants, different types of. There is 1.1 million species of insects and reptiles. There's 1 million species of birds. As far as the quadruped, four-legged animals are concerned, there are 3 million varieties. And there are also 400,000 of human species, of which only 20,000 are civilized. So 8.4, and we may have been through these 8.4 species of life many, 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 many times, because we perhaps have been in this world for a very long time. So this is quite eye-opening stuff. Now we've attained this human form of life, and we've come to the point of offering some bhakti to the Lord. We are extremely fortunate. We've won the lottery. So the point is, we have to realize what we've got. It's just the most amazing thing that we've got. Not lose it and build on it. By a certain law of karma, the soul transmigrates from one type of body into another. Now, what sort of body will we get in our next life? 3 things affected, 3 things. First is our consciousness. What is our mood? I'll give you some very crude examples. This fellow here, this lady here, likes to sleep a lot, right? So potentially, that's her karma. That's what she does. That's her consciousness. Perhaps Mother Nature will give a body of a bear in the next life, where you can sleep for. Oh, thank you very much, Bakulaben. You're on the ball. Yes, 313. Jayanti just found it. Just say it.
Okay. So the translation for that verse is, the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin.
Thank you. So somebody who likes to eat, even if it's tasty or not tasty, it doesn't matter. It's gone off, it's fresh, it doesn't matter. That mood is like that of a pig. Perhaps in the next life, they'll get a body of a pig to continue with that consciousness, because that's what they like. They'll get a body so that they can enjoy fully in that consciousness, in that body. Somebody likes to eat raw meat. Maybe a tiger body is more suitable. Somebody likes to show off their body. They're beautiful. They like to show it off. Maybe they can become trees and they can stand naked for thousands of years. No problem. So the first impact on our next body, first thing that will impact is what is our consciousness? Because we'll get a body according to that consciousness. Second thing that has an impact is our desires. The only thing the living entity can actually do is have desires. That's the only thing. Those desires are fulfilled by the Supreme Lord. If we have material desires, Lord will fulfill those desires. So the idea is we reduce our material desires to 0 by having spiritual desires. So 3 things. First, our consciousness. Second, our desires. What do we want? And third is our karma. What have we done? So those 3 things will impact which body we will have next life. The aim of human life is self-realization. As I just said, we've hit the jackpot. We're very fortunate. And we're very fortunate to be in touch with Sanatan Dharma. So if we can improve our consciousness to a spiritual level, that will lead us to moksha. Now, what is moksha is a subject on its own, which we'll tackle in another session, because moksha can mean many, many different things. Oh yeah, different types of moksha. So how do we know reincarnation actually exists? Right? Many people have near-death experiences and or out-of-body experiences. That's probably what I mean more, out-of-body experiences. I'll give you one example. I was talking in a school last year, a year before, and I was explaining about reincarnation to the school children. And one of the teachers at the end came to me and said, very interesting what you've just said. Because I was explaining about how sometimes a person may be on the surgical table and yes, well done, surgical table, and they will have actually witnessed the operation. And you can see here, having a look, the soul comes out of the body, has a look, what's going on, and later on can relay what the doctors and nurses were saying. So there's a lot of research done on this. There's a doctor called Ian Stevens. He's died now. He's in the States. He was in the States. He's done a lot of research on this. Now, the interesting thing was this teacher came to me and said, my daughter had an experience exactly like you said. She was being operated on. And she told me after the operation, she saw what the doctors and nurses were doing. And it was like she was saying, this really freaked me out. I was trying to understand what is going on. And this teacher basically explained, when I explained this, she said, okay, it makes more sense now. So this shows that the soul is different from the body. Remembrances of past lives. There was one fellow called William Barnes. In his previous life, he was known as actually Tommy Andrews. He was actually the designer of the Titanic. He died when the Titanic sunk, unfortunately. Now, he was a designer, and in his next life, or in this life as William Barnes, when he was 4, he started telling his parents that, call me Tommy. I'm not William. I'm not Bill. I'm Tommy. And they wondered, what are you talking about? And he kept telling them, I've got brothers and sisters. They didn't have any, any other children. And he kept having nightmares. He kept drawing pictures of ships similar to the Titanic. And it puzzled him, it puzzled his family why this was happening. And his nightmares would be really terrible, where he's drowning and things like that. So at some point in his life, I think when he was 25, he went to America and they did past life regression. And he realized that he was the designer of the Titanic. And actually, what happened was the Titanic, he had suggested, as Tommy, he had suggested some design where the Titanic would be stronger, but because of money constraints, they didn't put those designs into place. And that's why the Titanic sank. And he was principally blamed for the sinking of the Titanic because of the design faults. So the rest of his life he spent, I think he wrote a book or two about it, counteracting the notion that Tommy Andrews was at fault for the sinking of the Titanic. So this is quite interesting. So as I said, Dr. Ian Stevens, he's done a lot of research. I think he's done research on where young children can remember their past lives. Especially in India, there's one case where one child, I think maybe 3-4-year-old, would remember the past life and would tell his family, I used to live in this village. I had a shop, and I had a wife and I had kids. They were always thinking, yeah, sure. But he went on about it so much. They actually took him to that place, and he identified the shop, and he also identified where he kept some money which nobody else knew about, and they found that money. When he saw his wife from his previous life, he said, "This is my wife." He was only a 3-4-year-old boy, And what else? I think this might be the case where he was shot also. He was shot dead in the forehead, and there was a mark on his forehead. So that in his current life. So he's done a lot of research on reincarnation and out-of-body experiences. And then there's an example of Dhritarashtra and Krishna. After the Mahabharata war, Dhritarashtra said to Krishna, why? He challenged him. Why did I have to suffer seeing 100 sons of mine die in front of my own eyes? Of course, he couldn't see, of course, he was blind. But so Krishna thought about it for a minute, and he said, yes, you had to suffer your karma. In your previous life, you killed 50 cheeks. Was it 100 cheeks? 100 cheeks as a hunter, and you enjoyed watching them die. Oh. So then Dhritarashtra said, why did I have, that was 50 lives ago. That was 50 lives ago. That's what he told him, right? Krishna told him. 50 lives ago, Dhritarashtra said, why did I have to wait for 50 lives so that I could see 100 sons of mine die? So Krishna said to him, you had to perform enough good karma in each of those 50 lives to have 2 children for each life. So you've done enough good karma to get 100 sons. And this is the reason why you had to. Yeah, this is the fruit of your action. You had to see your 100 children die, just like you enjoyed watching the suffering of the girls. Now the reaction has come to you, where you're suffering to see your children die. So karma is complex, very, very, very complex. We'll never understand why something's actually happening to us. Will it help us if we remembered our previous lives? No. Like this fellow here, William Barnes, spent so much of his life justifying the design of the Titanic, or why it wasn't because of him it sank. We could be married to our worst enemy in our last life. Who knows? Who knows? Children we have, maybe our debtors, we owed them from our previous life something. Now they've come, we're repaying the debt. Who knows? Best not to remember. And it's a good job that the Lord generally does not allow us to remember our previous lives, because we will be forever angry, forever bitter at individuals or people or circumstances.
Hoping to take revenge in this life.
So conclusion is our consciousness is key, regards our current status, of course, and future destination. Through reading scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita and attending satsangs, etc., we can improve our consciousness within this life, and that will have a major impact on our next life as well. This is really key, really key. Our association is very important. The company we keep is very, very important. If we have bad company, it can mislead us in the wrong direction. And the challenge is to improve and purify our consciousness. This is a challenge because, generally speaking, we're quite lazy. We don't really want to challenge ourselves and improve our actions and our way of thinking. So it is a challenge. But when we dive into the scriptures and we keeping company with the devotees, then, becomes quite easy. So that we can become fully God conscious. That's the whole idea. We want to leave our material consciousness, our material habits, our material attachments, and become attached to the Supreme, so that we can get out of this world and go back to where we belong, in the spiritual world. So I wanted to stop there. And if there are any questions, be happy to take. Ishwari and Kishori?
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay, so I'm just trying to find the first bit. Okay, what if you do an act which is bad, like eating meat, but you don't know then that it is bad? Will you still get punished, even if it is a mistake?
Yes, but it may be less of a punishment. If you know something is wrong and you're doing it, the punishment will be a little more harder. If we make a mistake, even in the law, for example, if you drive through a red light, you might say to the judge, I didn't realize that driving through a red light was wrong. It doesn't matter. Ignorance is no excuse. You still get punished. But the punishment may be less if it's done out of innocence or a simple mistake. And the Lord is very kind. He understands that in this material body, we will end up doing so many crazy things because of our past association, our past way of thinking. And if we change our way of thinking, but we ask his forgiveness, that forgiveness will be there. Punishment will be reduced. It will be there. Some punishment is always going to be there, but it'll be less. And the punishment by the devotee is seen as a blessing. This is one of the most incredible things about Sanatan Dharma. The punishment is regarded as a blessing of the Lord in 2 or 3 different ways. One is that, my dear Lord, you could have, I should be suffering a lot more. You've reduced my suffering to 0. And second thing is, yes, suffering is good for me because in this material world, it helps me realize that I don't belong in this world. So even if there is suffering, the devotee, as long as we have that devotee mentality, it's a good thing because it'll drive us towards becoming better.
What happens when you are a child and obviously at that age you don't question your parents and they are natural meat eaters, but you know in your heart that eating meat is wrong and they make you eat it anyway? Will you still get punished for that?
Up to the age of 5, the parents are responsible for the children's karma. After the age of 5, it's regarded that the child has a little bit more independence. And then the child is responsible, completely, is responsible for its own karma. So I hear what you're saying. It's often something that I hear in schools. I don't want to eat meat, but my parents make me. And if it's a good point, actually, if you're eating meat because somebody is compelling it to you, somebody you're depending on, then I would say, I don't know for sure, but I would say that the result will be that the reaction will be reduced significantly. What do you think?
Yeah, and you know, at that time, if you are aware that it is wrong to eat meat, then you can just pray to the Lord that I am eating this because I'm forced to. It's not an art of choice. So the Lord will understand your situation as well and reduce the reaction.
I mean, obviously, this is not actually happening to us. We are
No,
properly
you're
vegan.
just asking. Yeah, you're just asking.
What happens if somebody with bad behavior, so like somebody drunk, hurts people and then says, oh, I am trying to fix my problem of being like addicted to alcohol, but doesn't actually really try, like they do a little bit, but not really, and they carry on doing it, and then eventually they stop doing it. Will they have a chance of going to Lord Krishna after stopping, or will they suffer until their sins are rectified?
One thing about the Lord, he's very, very kind. Nobody is going to be barred from going back to him. We can be the worst person in the world, but like Jagai and Madai, when they came, they were really terrible. But somehow, by the mercy of Nityananda and Chaitanya, they were blessed with love of God. So nobody is exempt. But if somebody is not really making an effort, it'll take a long, long time. If somebody is making an effort and it's a little hard, because it is hard to change one's habit, and even drinking alcohol, it's like a disease almost sometimes. It's like an addiction, a medical condition, in fact. So to get over that takes some doing. And if somebody does get over it, the Lord actually becomes quite pleased. You made a good effort. It's hard. You made a good effort. The Lord is very compassionate, kind-hearted.
And when people remember their last life, is it like a specific age group, or people who have just like died suddenly?
No, it's usually young children who remember the most.
Because my mom told me that when I was younger, a man who had never seen before, he was like a guru, he came on TV, and me and my sister, when we saw him, we just said Radhe Radhe, and nobody had taught us how to say Radhe Radhe, and we just said that every time he came on TV.
Wow.
That we'd just stop do what we were doing, and we'd just like watch him like chant and do his mantras and stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's because of your some scars from your previous life.
You're natural born devotees, you two.
If it is bad to remember our past lives, why have these people remembered their past lives? Were they bitter and resentful after remembering their past lives? Because you said, we would be resenting people, like certain people, and really bitter about certain places and stuff.
So what was the first part of the question?
Why do certain people remember?
Why certain people remember? I'm not sure. It's part of the karma. It's part of the karmic process. They must have such a strong desire to remember past life, maybe. But very difficult to understand why some, and it's a very tiny minority who remember.
I think sometimes the Lord facilitates that they remember, so then they go over that hurdle and come closer to God.
Maybe, yeah.
Like if they did something really bad and they remembered they did something really bad, they'd feel regret and be able to come back quicker.
Yeah, and they if the person that they're resenting is still around, that they can go and ask for forgiveness, and that will help them move on as well.
So just before you carry on, we just take a few other questions.
We were finished now.
Oh, go ahead.
All right.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. Good questions. There's a question by Rajan. I missed a point. Can you explain what the 400,000 human species, different types of species of human beings, and only 20,000 of those are civilized. So there's lots of...
you have things like, you have people like the cannibals, you have people like pygmies. That's what we mean by different species. They're still all humans, but different varieties and categories.
Riha, Akasha.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So like when you said Krishna was telling Dhritarashtra that he had fun like killing and doing stuff with 100 cheeks, what did you mean? Like did you mean like chicks as in like the birds?
Baby birds.
Baby birds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Baby birds, yeah. I didn't mean the girl chicks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pari, you have a question?
So, Prabhuji, you mentioned that obviously karma is something that we have control over. It's what we do.
Yeah.
But isn't it also true that the Lord knows what we're going to do, and like how we're going to do it, and he already knows like what punishment to or reward to already give us. So isn't it that he's controlling our karma in a sense?
See, our karma is already there, right? Whatever we've done, we're going to get it. How we react to that karma is the key. So, for example, I remember sitting in one satsang and somebody threw a cushion at somebody, right? I was saying, and the person reacted really nicely, but he could have reacted different ways. One, he could have reacted,
Throwing it back.
or he could have cried, right? Mode of ignorance. He could have thrown it back, shot it back at them, passion. Mode of goodness, he actually accepted it.
Used it.
But the best one was he actually sat on it and started praying to the Lord. So karma, the cushion is going to come, right? We are going to get our reactions. We no doubt about that. We will get the reaction. They are predestined. But how we react is not predestined. So Krishna, he's got control over the karma, yes. But he's given us freedom of choice. He's given us free will. How we react is an element of free will in there. And that free will is what gives rise to future karma. So we can control our destiny because we can control our reaction to the karma.
Is our karma also free will? So whatever we do, is that also under the control of us or the Lord?
Yes, we are controlling it. Our desires are controlling it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But of course, when you're in this body and you're used to a certain condition of life, it's very hard to go against the norm. Very hard.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
No, thank you. Good question. So
Okay.
Rupa has got a question. How does the soul know it's time to leave the body? Generally, it won't know, but some cases, I was listening just the other day.
Trika was telling us about this Mataji in Vrindavan. So she was quite elderly, and she was very devoted. And then one day she called her sons and said, she's trying to arrange everything. She said, soon I'll be leaving my body. So I want this person to do this person to do that, and this person to have this. So she's sorting out everything before she left the body. And then one day she actually did her seva and everything, and then sat down and said, okay, now give me, I think, some Gangajal and Tulsi, and soon I'm going to leave my body. And that happened exactly. So she knew that, she was about to leave her body, and, because she'd been devoted to the Lord, she was able to arrange it like that.
Yeah. So in some cases one can know, some cases one will not have an idea, one will just leave suddenly. Some cases one may even see some really ghastly signs, some barking dogs, which are not visible to anybody else, but that person can see them. That's like the Yamadutas coming, and then you have a very frightful time, something's going to happen. So each situation will be different. Ashwin bhai?
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Krishna, Ashwin bhai.
I have a question. I have always believed that in human life, the divine is in me. So when we say namaste, we say the divinity in me greets the divinity in you.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So the question I have is, if I'm divine, if I accept that as a concept, then as a divine person, whatever I do is accepted, is blessed, is okay. There isn't another thing that's driving me to be either bad or to be extra good. So I'm now confused about if I'm a divine person, then I must be following the rules.
Well, I'll answer your
Who
question.
is not following the rules?
You are definitely divine, right?
No. Who's not following the rules then?
Okay, so
Within me.
see what Arjun is saying. Krishna is saying to Arjun, right? Chapter 16, text number 6. Oh, Sanupata, in this world, there are two kinds of created beings, two kinds. One is called divine, that's you, and the other demoniac. So within us, there's both tendencies are there. The divine and the demoniac, because we are now associating with this material world. If we were in the spiritual world, pure Atma, we would be completely divine.
Okay.
Whilst we're in this world, we've got this association of the crazy things in this world. So, and then he says, I have already, Krishna says to him, explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me the demoniac. And then he also says to Arjun, do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with divine qualities. So knowing you for the short period I've known you, Ashwin Bhai, I can tell you, you are born with really.
No, forget that. But which chapter was this?
16.
16.
16.
Have a look at 16.
Divine and demonic qualities.
All right.
And also, I mean, within us, we have Jiva, Atma, and also we have the Paramatma. So we have, the Paramatma, Vishnu, as well as us in this gross body.
So the namaste applies to both.
Yeah.
It's a good point actually you made, Ashwin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Vishnu is sort of guiding us sometimes. It's that voice in the head that do this, don't do this as well. But he's watching and helping us as well.
So just a few more, but Pari, oh yeah, we better. Pari, do you want to put your
the details for the quiz?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you can put it on the chat and you can share as well. We'll just take some questions which are on the chat.
This one.
Priti saying different human species come with different levels of consciousness. Absolutely spot on, yeah. And then Prakash, can I ask about numbers? Can you please explain the significance of 108? Yeah, good question.
108 beads in the mala.
So there's 108 Upanishads. That's one of the reasons given for the auspiciousness of 108. There's also 108 principal gopis of Krishna who are very close to the Lord. And that's another reason why 108 is very auspicious. And when we chant, we have 108 mala on our beads, so that
beads on the mala.
Beads on the mala. So 108 is regarded very auspicious. I'm sure there's few more reasons why 108 is so good.
And then last question.
If individuals initiate the karma, then how come Lord has control over karma? We can see, there's 5 subject matters in the Bhagavad Gita. There's the Lord, there's Jiva, there's
time,
Prakriti, and time. And then there's karma. 4 of them cannot change. But the one thing that can change is karma. So we can change our karma. The Lord,
he doesn't control it. He facilitates.
Yeah.
He does not control our karma. He facilitates our situation so that we can perform our karma, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
So he gives us the opportunity to act out the karma from a previous life and then carry on in this life.
So everybody can log in. Quiz. And the code is enter code
042.
How do you know?
It's there.
Oh, okay. 042
398.
398.
Where's the shortcut for the link, please?
It's
if you go in the chat, there's double click the Harish has put the QIZIZZ.com.
Prabhuji, should I share my screen?
Oh, yes, please.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So how many are in there? Okay, a few. So are we waiting for anybody?
Just a few more.
We'll give you another minute. Okay, has everybody joined now? We've got
Only 15.
no more. Oh, is it? Oh, okay. So we have 15.
Anyone else waiting to join or having issues?
So next week, we're planning to talk about this world, and we'll address some of the the question that Ashwin Bhai asked about our nature.
Prabhuji, I saw you were in there. Make sure you don't answer all the questions right, because when we hosted the quiz last, you got all of them right.
No,
No, we
I've been,
try not to.
yeah,
to
I've
make
been putting the
sure.
wrong answers now. Thank you, Kishori. Okay, so anybody left? We're not waiting for anybody now. Okay,
Okay.
you can start.
Okay,
Pari, thank you again, Pari, for doing this.
no problem, Prabhuji. So this is the quiz on last week's topic, which was the Jiva. So we are not the body, we are the mind, heart, soul, or limbs. Two people left to answer. Yeah, so most of us got it right. Fairly easy question. One who has taken birth is sure to die, live forever, pray, or go to Krishna. Okay. It is important to realize our true identity as a spirit soul, or we will continuously reincarnate, accept unnatural material bodies, go through repeated material sufferings, or all of the above. So majority right again. How many characteristics does our soul have? 10, 30, 15, or 20?
How many characteristics? Where did you get that from? I think it was that chart.
Very close. Yes, it was actually 30, and it was referring to the chart in the last.
Yeah.
So, why didn't Arjuna want to kill any of the warriors on the other side? They were part of his family. His bow was not. There are two answers for this one. His bow was not strong enough. He was too compassionate, or he was afraid of losing. Only two answers. So most of us have, again, yes, so it was the first one and the third answer. So referring to the last question, the Lord convinced him to fight, saying, There are again two answers for this one. They must repent for their sins, so they referring to the warriors on the other side. No one can harm the soul. Arjuna will be victorious, or you are only freeing them of the material body.
So which one is Noah?
So two reasons that convinced Arjuna.
Soul, yeah. Only freeing them of that body. Okay.
So it was the second one and the fourth one, but the first one was also kind of right. But I mean, referring to the soul, it was the
Yeah.
second and the fourth.
Good.
The soul can never be cut up into pieces by any, and then you have to write what you think it is. So, okay, I'll say it after. I'll say it after everyone's done. 3 people left to answer. The correct answer is actually weapon.
Mhm.
One person.
Mm.
They didn't make it. But yes, it was weapon. So well done to everyone who got that right. Nor burned by dash. Everyone's got it right. I might just skip it, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they got it. They got it.
Okay. So it was fire. Nor moistened by.
Mhm. It's good.
Yes, so a lot of us saying water. Again, well done. Everyone finished. And the last one is nor withered by dash. Withered by the dash.
It comes out.
Yes, so everyone that said wind or air is correct. Okay.
Mhm.
Right. Second last question. We are the body or the soul? This one's a poll just to make sure everyone's understood.
What? 2 people.
The soul is correct. Krishna explains this science of reincarnation in chapter 2, also known as Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. Just 2 people left to answer. 1 person.
Good question. Good question.
And the correct answer was Sankhya Yoga.
Yeah, well done. That was good.
So, thank you, Prabhuji. So the results are Kishori third, Kishore Sonavane Prabhuji second, and I missed the first person. Very sorry.
Ikeshwar.
Ikeshwara.
Whoa.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well done. Fantastic.
Well done.
Mhm.
And Kishori, that's really surprising because I know you and Ishori weren't here last week. So well done.
I was
Thank
first for
you.
most of the quiz until it was a few questions.
That's fine. You tried your best. Anyways, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well done, Pari.
Lovely quiz.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you all next Sunday. We'll talk about the material world.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you very